Hi, it's really good to meet you finally.
Good to meet you.
Okay, so first let's go ahead and start with an icebreaker before we start the actual interview questions. So if you can travel to any fictional world, where would you go?
Middle Earth, right off the bat. I've been a
What-
Tolkien fan since I was like 8 years old. Before the Lord of the Rings movies came out, my mother had us read The Hobbit and all the Lord of the Rings books.
Mhm.
So, like in the theaters, we were just like pointing characters out, like, "Oh, there's he is, there he is, there he is." So, yeah, if I can go to a fictional world, it'd probably be Middle Earth.
Without a question.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. What made you want to start making music in the first place?
I was just better at singing than I was at talking. I kind of stumble over my words technically. Well, see, but I kind of stumble over my words, and it's kind of hard for me to process conversations and explaining like how I feel about certain things. I would always say that I can't really put it into words, but I could put it into song format, and music was always just my way of communicating to the world. You know, everybody looks for connection, and I think I got most of the connections that I've gotten from music.
Mhm. Is that your cat?
We live in a country with wild cats. They fight all the time. Jesus.
Uh,
Our spoiled ones are in here, so if you see them jumping on the counter in the background, yeah, they rule the house.
okay, and what characteristic would you use to describe your music besides the genre?
I like to say free because you know when you're when you don't speak much, people tend to think that you don't have much to say, and that's not necessarily true. Um, it's just that you can't really say it. You know, it's that you're so concerned on what other people are feeling and what other people are going through that you kind of just leave yourself out of the equation. But with our music, it was a way of being able to communicate to the world and say what we want. And like while I'm on stage, you're gonna listen to me finally. You know what I mean? When I have the microphone, it's your turn to listen, no matter if it's something you want to hear or not. So just the freedom to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
totally get
I would say free.
Yeah, I get that. I have really bad social anxiety myself, so
Mm.
yeah, whenever I listen to music, it just feels freeing itself. Um, Now, do you feel your childhood or your culture had any impact on the music that you create?
Oh, for sure. My father was a musician. My grandfather is a musician. I had uncles, aunts, cousins, brothers, sisters. Everybody plays music, and so yeah, definitely the way I kind of came up. And when we did the Southern Sinners, I was going through quite a bit with experimenting with things, just living kind of a lifestyle that I wasn't comfortable with. And when I got the opportunity to join the Sinners, it was also the opportunity to kind of turn around and flip every all my experiences over on its head. So I think with any kind of artist, his surroundings, his or her surroundings, or the culture definitely for sure inspires music, whether they know it or not.
Mhm. Okay, so your album Insulting was released in 2019. What was your process like when writing and creating your album?
We started because we were kind of in metal bands, and we were kind of trying to figure out where to go. I had this like southern rock group, and it was okay, but it was kind of like I was trying to find some kind of creative. Um, I was trying to broaden my creative horizon. In other words,
Mhm.
it was really hard to do when you're playing metal because when you're playing metal, it's kind of limited to this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. And I'm just not that kind of person. Like I feel like if an artist makes music, he should be able to make, a pop album one day, country album the next day, rap album the next day. So I wanted to find a band that kind of fit everything, all the influences I've gathered and put them into one. And so we started jamming the Sinner stuff, and it was kind of just like, I'm not gonna say a joke, but it was kind of like just something we did for fun. And then the band Black Tarpoon, they're actually the ones who convinced us to like put 5 songs together. And they were like, if you could put 5 songs together, we can get you a couple shows. And we wrote 5 songs in like 2 days, got them all jammed out, and played our first show at the Black Monk Tavern. And it was just the reception we got. People were confused as to what genre we were, which like was the goal. They were just like, I don't know what you guys are. And we're like, we honestly don't either. And so we kind of kept that momentum going, and we got like about 12 songs written out and went on our first tour. And yeah, it was just crazy because I didn't know what to write about in that short amount of time, so I just kind of picked from personal experiences, like different. And I wanted to do like I wanted to write about mental illness, like, but there's more than one form of mental illness. If you're depressed, you're not just depressed. You're depressed from something else and something else and something else. It's leading to depression is multiple things that you go through that you are just done processing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Stumble was is very much about alcoholism and toxic relationships. There's a song about, voices being in your head, because when you're in your head too much, your head starts to talk back. Just like delusional schizophrenia. There's just that I wanted to highlight each form of mental illness that I've ever experienced and try to explain it in a way that other people who have experienced it aren't thinking, he's just writing about mental illness because that's what's popular, or he's just trying to be depressed because people are depressed. Like, no, like I'm trying to do is get out what I was feeling. And if you can take out of it what you're feeling, then that's my goal right there.
Perfect. So my personal favorite song on the album is Smoking. Can you tell me a little bit about the meaning behind that song?
Uh, when we play that song, I kind of tell people this song's about weed and crazy women. That's just something I say, but honestly, like it was just a personal thing. Like I was being stalked and by a very toxic person, and I kind of just one day she was calling and calling, and my buddy was like, "Are you gonna answer that?" I was like, "Nope, I'm just gonna keep on smoking." And like we were smoking weed, and yeah, that just kind of sparked the idea of like, yeah, I should write a song about a guy who's just like had it up to here with whoever he's with. So he's just gonna just every time she starts to yell at him or blame him for things, he just lights up and just escapes through the miracles of marijuana.
Okay. So are there any musicians that inspire your music that you create?
Right off the bat, Chris Cornell has always been one of my main influences on vocals, just because of like how much kind of heart he puts into his songs. But I draw inspiration from everybody from, I mean, Zach Wild was probably my favorite guitarist of all time. I've always wanted to be like him, except, I can't have the hair that he does. But, like artists like Ray LaMontagne, just how poetic he does his lyrics. When he writes about pain, he writes it in a way that kind of forces you to feel that pain. And it's very rare when an artist can make you do that. Like I've heard artists write about pain in country songs and going through it, but I feel like they're just kind of they're doing the algorithm. You can kind of tell when an artist writes about being hurt, and it's just because he just wants to write a song about being hurt. You know what I mean? It's not because he's hurt and that's the only song he can write. Like that's the emotion that I've always wanted to capture. And Ray LaMontagne is probably, in my opinion, the best in the business at capturing emotions like that.
Mhm.
So Ray LaMontagne, Chris Cornell, Zach Wild, and man, I'm leaving a lot of people out. We don't have time to go over all my influences, but definitely, like, when it came to doing this roots style music, like with folk punk and everything like that, I drew inspiration from everybody from Larry and his Flask, which is an amazing band. If nobody's heard of them, y'all should definitely listen to them. Black Tarpoon, which, you know, they've not only named Southern Sinners, as they named our band, and they inspired us to do that kind of music. Black Eyed Vermilion, the list goes on and on. You know, you when you're a music enthusiast, you kind of draw your influences from upwards to 500 plus artists, so it's kind of hard to limit it.
Okay, so you were in a previous band called the Southern Sinners.
Mhm.
How was your previous band experience different from your current one, and what impact did the change have on your music?
Southern Sinners, they opened a lot of doors to the dreams I had. I never left Texas before I was in Southern Sinners. And with Southern Sinners, I went to many different states. My bucket list included, like, the number one thing on my bucket list was always playing at the Whiskey A Go Go in LA, and I got to do that with them, and it was just such a great experience. You know, it was cool to be able to be in a band with your best friends, and you know, just to share that experience together, and to be able to just write a couple songs, and not only for the success for me, but, you know, like when we were playing at the show and at the Whiskey, I would look back and I would see how happy they were, and it would just, I kind of fed off of that. So and when COVID kind of happened, it kind of drew the band apart. Everybody kind of found their own thing, which I think it had to happen that way, because I was at a point where I just wasn't growing as a person. I was kind of doing shows and coming home and just waiting for the next show. And that's really not healthy. You want to love your life no matter if you're playing shows or not. You don't want to just get home and say, you know, I'm dead until the next show happens. And that's where my head was at. And stepping away from the Sinners, and moving down here to the Valley, it kind of helped me heal mentally. And, you know, I got over personal things that happened. And so now that I'm kind of, I'm not going to say I'm healed and I'm changed, but I definitely do feel like I am different than who I was in the Sinners. And so I feel like it's more on my terms now, that I can, if I don't get the show tomorrow, you know what I mean? It's no big deal. I still got a good job. I got a good life. You know, I'm healthy mentally. And I think that's what's going to make a really big difference in our music. I quit smoking cigarettes, so my voice is a lot better than it was.
Mhm.
So just doing little things like that, changing up my lifestyle, it really helped. I eat lettuce now, which is pretty cool.
Okay. And who is your dream musician to collab with?
I don't know, man. That's a hard one. That's a hard one. If is it living or dead?
Living or dead? Mhm.
Living or dead? Damn. I'm probably gonna say Chris Cornell. It would be really cool to have, like, that, um just to be on a song with that guy would be amazing. Um I would love to work with, like, Dave Mustaine. Um I would love to work with, like, Zach Wild. We actually did in the Insulting album, on the title track Insulting, we did the collaboration with Jesse and Black Tarpoon. And
Mhm.
I feel like that song was great, but I feel like we've progressed so much since recording that song that we could do, like, another song, and I think it would be way better. Not to say that that one was bad. I love the way that it came out, but
Mhm.
I feel like we've evolved so much as artists, and I would really love to work with him again.
Mhm. So you perform at the 83rd Winery a lot.
Mhm.
Is that your favorite venue, or what has been your favorite performance?
Um,
Or
it's my favorite venue down here. They're well, just because they're from when from when I moved down here, they were always open to letting me play for them. From the first night, the owner, they're just really great people, and they're really loving, and they kind of accepted me, so it being where you're wanted, it feels good. My favorite venue, it has to be the Black Monk Tavern in Corpus, just because, I mean, our band got our start there. I met my girlfriend there. I mean, things happened. Everything good that's happened in my life and all the good people I've met in my life, I met in that venue. So, I mean, I can't say that any other venue is better. Even though we played at the Whiskey and it was amazing, and I got to sit in the room where Motley Crue and all the greats before me sat, man, I just, Corpus, the Black Monk Tavern just feels like home.
and what has been your favorite performance that you've done with or without the Southern Sinners?
It was probably the Whiskey show. It was like I said, I mean, because going to the show, I didn't realize how bad a voice could blow out, but my voice blew out on the second show of that tour. And I spent the next three shows just like, I was like, all right, we got a day off and then we got a show tomorrow. I have plenty of time to heal. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to eat honey and cough drops. And it was just stressful. And once we got to California, we got 2 days to kind of just chill. So I was like, I'm going to eat fresh things. I'm going to drink as much room temperature water as I can and try to get my voice healed up. And when we got to the venue, it was just like we just being in that room, we're like Elvis, Eminem, all these every favorite band that I've ever had, like Bob Marley played there. Dude, just everybody, Pink Floyd, like any band you could think of that's worth their weight as a band, they played there. Black Sabbath, Megadeth, the list is endless. And you walk into the green room and there's all the autographs of the artists that came there before you, and it's just it's really it's humbling to know to be part of that group. And once we took the stage, and apparently the opening bands generally aren't good, and to see the crowd react to our music the way that they did, and just to get the cheers from the venue that people say this venue will make or break you, and to be able to play a good set that night and just to get screams. And we had people coming up to us and be like, I did not expect an opening band to be good. So I was like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take it. So yeah, that was probably my favorite show of all time.
Great. And what is your favorite cover to perform?
Well, I mean, with the Sinners, we did a Hurt cover that was pretty good, because we kind of changed up like how the tempo of the song. We kind of doubled it up and turned it into a folk punk song, and it was really cool. But I think the most personal cover for me would be Simple Man. And it's because that it was not only one of the first songs I ever learned, it was the first song that I played for my dad, and the first song where my dad was just like, "That's badass," and I'll never forget that. And I sang it at his funeral, and I always dedicate it to special people in my life, and it's just a real personal song for me. A lot of people fucking hate when I play it, but I don't. I guess it's just they just don't like the song. But yeah, it's probably one of my favorite covers. It's kind of like your comfort zone. You have a bad crowd, and they're just kind of not listening to you. Like, it's that song that it's the one cover I do that I'm just like, I know I can get some heads to turn.
You have an upcoming performance at the Black Monk on October 8th. Do you have any surprises we should look forward to?
I can't tell you. You have to go to the show. No spoilers. No, I can say I am working on new music and hopefully going to be playing some new songs there. so like unreleased tracks. We got some people coming in to step in to help us kind of make our sound bigger. Um, and each show is a surprise even for us. So I mean, we have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. You know what I mean? Like but it's good though, because for the first time in years, I'm actually nervous about a show, and that kind of lights the fire.
Good. Okay, now what has been your favorite or your best interaction with a fan?
It's gotta be my buddy Morgan. Uh, he man, he was a diehard fan of the Sinners, and a friend of all of us. And he became a friend of all of us. The first time I met him, he kind of messaged me and is just telling me about what his take on our music was, and what he got out of it. And he would tell me about everything that he kind of went through. And a lot of our experiences were very similar. And just to hear if it was just him, and if it was only him that could have said the things he said, that would have my work here is done. You know what I mean? Like it was good to know that I reached at least one person in the way that I planned to, and that is to connect with him. And he would show up to all of our shows. He's a huge supporter to this day. And it's just, he's one of those people that you kind of see him at the show, you're just like, now it's going to be a good show, because now we got somebody who actually knows the words to our songs. And that has always been a dream of mine. You know what I mean? I think not many musicians want to admit it, but their dream is to be able to look at the crowd while they're performing and have the crowd know exactly what words are coming, what's next, what song are they playing next, just by how they introduce the songs. And he's that kind of guy. He knows what we're doing before we do. And it's just seeing him at shows, like, yeah, that's probably my favorite fan experience, is to be able to make such a good friend out of it.
Mhm. And how do you feel you interact best with your fans? Is it at shows as well?
Yeah, I think I interact best with fans just on stage. I feel like I fall short when I go off stage and they try to talk to me, because I just don't know what to say. Like, when like, and I don't know how this is gonna make me sound, and I apologize if I sound like an a-hole, but like when people tell you like good set and good job and you're really good, and like you can hear it for so many times until it starts to be redundant. And it honestly does, it gets redundant. I'd rather just people just come up to me and just good job, and that be it. Because it's hard to be like, yeah, thank you, I appreciate it, I appreciate it, I appreciate it, thank you, I appreciate it, I appreciate it. And it's not that I do. It's just, tell me something else. Like, tell me where we sucked. That's where I want to hear. But yeah, no, I interact best with people on stage, because I kind of listen to the crowd. And I always prided myself on being able to read the room. 'Cause from playing cover songs and stuff like that, you can kind of, I'll play a song and I'll kind of see who's listening and who's not. And I'll say, well, this person's not listening, but that person at the table was listening, even though the whole rest of the table wasn't. So I'm going to play another song that he'd like. And then with him being into it, he's going to get his friends into it. Soon enough, that table's going to be into it. And then this next table is going to feed off their energy. And I've always prided myself on being able to finally get the attention of the room.
Mhm.
And I could only ever do that on stage. Any charisma I have stays on stage, and it doesn't come with me. You can ask my wife. When I met her, she would, like, okay, I always tell her she was flirting with me ironically, because like I always thought that, you know, like when people wanted to get your attention, they thought that you were some kind of rock star. That you know what I mean? Like when I would get attention from people, they thought that I lived for the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing. And that's not true. I would rather go home and watch anime and play Magic. Like I don't know about the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but you know, like and yeah, just it was always very awkward for me talking to people after shows because I always had that in my head. Like, are they talking to me or are they trying to talk to the guy that was on stage? Because I'm not him. That guy stayed up there. I don't know where he went.
Okay, now lastly, if you could listen to one song, and I know this is gonna be hard, but if you can only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what song would that be?
Probably Beethoven's Midnight Sonata or Midnight Symphony, simply because like it's like a 20-minute song, and there's everything you need. There's your slow, there's your fast, your him showing off on his piano, and it's a beautiful piece of music. I think it kind of is made to grip you emotionally, and yeah, I could listen to it all day. And I think if I were to pick a song with vocals, I would get sick of it. Like I want to say I believe in a thing called Love by Darkness because that song just puts me in a good mood all the time. But I was like, no, I can't. Even if I were to listen to that song over and over, I'd probably put my head through a window. So yeah, probably some Beethoven or some any kind of Mozart.
And did you want to say anything else?
I appreciate the opportunity. Appreciate the interview. We're working on new music. We're working on new recordings. We're working on ourselves, and I just appreciate all the support that I've gotten from everybody, and I can't tell you how much it means to me to be such a loser from Beeville and to get the to meet the people that I've met and to get the connections that I've gotten. You guys are everything, and I appreciate you.
All right. Okay, I think that's all I have for today. It was nice meeting you, and
It was good meeting you.
Time. Thank
I
you.
hope to see you again soon.